man named Tom stands in a parking lot and watches a piece of paper that floats in the air. Another man, Tom's partner, named Vic, tries to steal a car, and after he manages to start the car, both men leave the parking lot. When they arrive at the place where the stolen car was, they steal another vehicle's license plate and go away. After that, they go to a store to buy some tools such as rope drill, padlock, and other equipment they need. They return to their hideout in an abandoned apartment with the newly bought tools, then make the whole room soundproof, and take apart the bed frame completely to build a new one. After they replace the door lock with a new one, they continue by installing a large tarp at the back of the car, designed to block light and sound from entering. After some time passes, they change their clothes and pack a bag filled with weapons, handcuffs, ropes, and various kinds of clothes, and finally, they are ready to commit a crime. Tom and Vic then wait patiently inside the parked car outside, and they put on their masks when a woman named Stella arrives. As soon as Tom and Vic get out of the car, they cover the woman's head with a cloth. Even though she screams in panic for help, they carry her into the car, where she is handcuffed and her legs are tied together. While Vic drives the car away from the area, Tom takes out Stella's SIM card from her phone and throws it away, and finally, Stella is kidnapped. After they return to the hideout, the kidnappers tie their victim to the bed, then cut off her clothes with scissors, remove the cloth that covers her face, and finally, they take her photos. Her face is hidden again, and the men force her to wear new clothes against her will. Knowing that their goal is achieved, Tom and Vic leave the room, and Stella screams for help. When Tom and Vic come back to the room, they ask Stella to give them her father's email address. Not long after Vic realizes that Stella is not ready to cooperate completely, he slaps her face. He repeats his question, and this time Stella responds by giving her answer, as well as when Vic asks for her father's phone number. After he gets all the information he needs, Vic puts the gag back into Stella's mouth and then leaves the room. Outside the room, Vic and Tom look tense, so Tom drinks a bottle of water to calm himself before he starts packing Stella's phone. Vic sits in front of the computer, and he is in the process of sending an email to Stella's father, attaching the photos that he took and telling Tom to check on Stella every 10 minutes. Vic then leaves the hideout after he sends the photos, and he tells Tom to always lock the door. After that, Tom enters the room where the victim is, and he finds that they are both alone there. Tom just stands there and watches the victim squirm in pain. When she asks for help, Tom leaves the room and sits at a table, where he looks deep in thought, his eyes moving left and right. When Vic returns to the hideout, Tom stops thinking too much and sees Vic coming closer with 5 phones and asks about the situation. However, Tom wants to know whether the email address she gave is accurate or not, and Vic replies that there has not been any reply and there is no way to know for sure. They then go to give Stella some water, but right before handing her the bottle, Vic says that they do not want to hurt or kill her, but they are ready to do so if necessary. After that, he asks Stella to swear not to scream, but she does it right after Vic removes the gag from her mouth. Immediately, Vic puts his hand over her mouth and tells her that no one can help her and no one will help her. He also says that the only way for her to get out of this room is with her kidnappers. So Stella keeps her promise, and finally, she is given water to drink. After the gag is put back in her mouth, Vic teaches her sign language to show when she needs to urinate or defecate, which makes her quickly signal that she needs to urinate. But she is surprised when she finds out that her kidnappers do not take her to the toilet as she expects, but instead bring a container for her to urinate in. As a result, Stella is forced to follow what her kidnappers want, and she urinates in front of the men. After Tom washes the container in the toilet and puts it on the kitchen sink, he goes to the kitchen and comes back with a large portion of food for him, and Tom carefully chooses his food on the table, barely touching anything. Vic reminds him that to maintain his energy, Tom needs to eat, until Vic is forced to feed him against his will because Tom keeps refusing. Tom says again that he is not hungry and adds that everything is fine with him, which makes Vic angry, and he warns Tom not to mess up his plan and reminds him how long Vic has worked to prepare this kidnapping. So Tom tells his partner that he thinks too much, and he might be worried about the possibility that they will return to prison if the plan fails. After Vic's anger calms down, he encourages his partner, and finally, Tom agrees to eat too. Vic finishes his meal and goes out, and after he leaves, Tom takes the laptop to look at Stella's photos, where he stares at her picture, his eyes filled with emotion. Soon after, he goes to the room to check on Stella, and when she signals to Tom that it's time to defecate, Tom immediately brings a bucket for her to use. After he releases her ties, Tom points a gun at Stella and orders her to do it there. But she cannot, and she begs for privacy. When Tom turns around to give her space, she grabs the bucket and suddenly hits Tom. The gun falls from his hand and lands near where Stella stands. So she quickly grabs the gun, points it at Tom, and orders him to release her from the handcuffs. Tom refuses, which results in a struggle followed by the sound of a gunshot. At that moment, Stella manages to remove Tom's mask, and his face is revealed. Stella is shocked when she sees him and then realizes that the two of them actually know each other. They used to be lovers. They argue again, but Tom is stronger than Stella, and finally, he ties her again to the bed. Tom emphasizes to Stella that Vic must not know that they once had a relationship. After Tom brings the bucket out of the room, Vic comes back with bad news, that Stella's father does not intend to pay the ransom. Even so, Vic believes that the father will eventually pay. The next day, Vic wakes Tom up to get ready, and they go into the room to announce to Stella that her father does not intend to pay the ransom for her release. So Vic explains that they have no choice except to cut off Stella's left little finger, and Vic assures her that the finger can be reattached within the next 24 hours, but this depends on whether her father pays or not. Vic then begins the process of cutting her little finger, and throughout the video recording, Stella begs her father for help while pleading to the camera in front of her. Stella also apologizes for all the arguments they have had, and despite their differences, she says she has always loved him. Besides that, she reveals something very shocking, that she is now 4 months pregnant, a revelation that makes Tom feel uncomfortable. When Vic is about to cut his finger, Tom interferes to stop his action, and finally, Vic does not cut his finger. As a result, Vic gets angry and warns Tom never to be a troublemaker again. He then leaves Vic to edit the video they have just recorded, and when Vic finishes the editing, he expresses his satisfaction because the result is exactly what he expected. The two men then return to the room with some food for Stella to eat, where Stella asks Tom to feed her just as Vic is about to do it. Even though Stella protests, Vic still feeds her while assuring her that everything will end soon. Tom notices that the bullet from their earlier struggle keeps attracting his attention, and Stella also notices it, so Vic becomes suspicious of the situation. Fortunately, he does not find the bullet because Tom quickly takes it and puts it somewhere else. Outside the room, Vic asks Tom about his strange behavior and finds it suspicious. Tom claims that he feels a little anxious and immediately says that he needs to go to the bathroom. There, he tries to throw the bullet into the drain, but it does not go down. At the same time, Vic knocks on the door and asks Tom to come out without further delay. Because he takes too long, Vic tries to force open the door after Tom refuses to unlock it. Just before Vic can open the door, Tom realizes that there's nothing else he can do, and finally, he decides to swallow the bullet that he takes from the drain. After they are in the living room, Vic gets ready to leave, while telling Tom that everything will be finished in 2 days. Vic boasts that after all this is over, he and Tom will be free again to pursue their goals and become rich. After Vic leaves, Tom immediately checks the schedule on the computer, where he tries to calculate the number of months that have passed since he and Stella broke up, hoping to determine whether the baby she carries is his or not. Angrily, he goes into the room to confront Stella, where Tom calls her a liar and accuses her of lying about her pregnancy. Stella tells him to feel her stomach, but Tom feels nothing when he does it, which makes his anger grow even more. He tells Stella that if her story about her pregnancy is true, he wants to know why she chose not to tell him earlier. Stella explains that Tom always disappears, and after he is arrested by the police, she gives up trying to find him, and finally, she decides to break up. Tom is devastated by this statement, and he admits that he was the one who suggested Stella to Vic as the kidnapping target. Tom explains that the reason he chose Stella is that her father is a rich businessman. But what hurts Tom the most is that Stella has ended their relationship, which makes Tom heartbroken and feel like his life is destroyed. Stella keeps insisting that the baby in her womb is real, but Tom is not convinced by her argument. To prove that she tells the truth, she asks Tom to check the doctor's appointment stored in her phone. But when Tom is about to insert the battery into the phone, he realizes that this might be part of a trap, because as soon as he puts the battery in, the authorities can track and find the kidnapping location. Then Stella starts to feel like she wants to vomit, so she asks Tom for help. As soon as he arrives, he releases the handcuffs from her wrists, and finally, Stella vomits beside the bed. After she finishes, they stare at each other, and it seems that old memories come back into their minds. But when Tom becomes distracted, Stella grabs him and handcuffs him to the bed, then stands not far from him. She rushes to the front door and screams for help, but no one responds. In panic, she takes one of the phones and calls the authorities. But because she does not know where she is, the police find it difficult to help her, since they cannot determine her location. At that moment, Tom tries to reach the house key inside the room using his foot, but the key is too far. After he realizes that he probably cannot reach it, he looks for another way to try. At this point, Stella returns to the room and focuses her attention carefully on the key. When she bends down to pick it up, suddenly Tom kicks her head against the wall, and finally, Stella loses consciousness. After Stella is brought back to the bed, she is tied again with handcuffs and rope. Vic returns sometime later with good news, telling that Stella's father has agreed to the transaction. So the only question left is where the exchange will take place. According to Vic, they have no other choice but to take the girl immediately to the boathouse. Vic is overjoyed by the possibility of receiving a ransom of $3 million, and he announces that he intends to escape secretly to another country, and one of his old friends has shown him pictures of that country. Tom then goes out to prepare the car for the trip, and when he is inside the car, he finds Stella's pregnancy record among the pile of things, which proves that she was telling the truth. At that moment, Vic finds a phone that he bought earlier while preparing Stella to be moved to the boathouse, where Stella insists that she does not know how the phone got in her pocket and explains that it is impossible for her to get that phone herself. As a result, Vic becomes suspicious that Tom is the one who gave the phone to Stella, so Vic asks for the reason behind it. But Stella keeps being uncooperative, which makes Vic lose his patience, and finally, he punches her face. In his anger, he is also shocked when he finds out that Stella knows Tom's name. As a result, Vic paces back and forth to inspect the surroundings until he finds a bullet mark inside the soundproof wall. For the second time, Vic questions Stella, and this time, she gives him a full explanation of everything, which ends with the revelation that she is Tom's ex-girlfriend. Because Vic cannot accept the fact that Stella did not know his identity, he punches her face again, and finally, Stella passes out. Tom then returns to the hideout, unaware of everything that has just happened until he arrives inside. Vic wants to know why Tom chose Stella instead of the other candidates, and to defend himself, Tom says that it is Vic who finally chose Stella and that all Tom did was give a suggestion. Vic says that something is wrong, which is very concerning considering Stella's strange behavior. Tom assures his business partner that he is telling the truth to Vic, and then they both return to work. As soon as Stella is sedated inside the room, she is moved to the waiting car. They leave the hideout and go to the forest, where they find a deserted road. They then handcuff Stella after bringing her into the boathouse, while she still remains unconscious. Despite the fact that the original plan is for Tom to stay with Stella while Vic goes to collect the money, Vic insists that Tom must accompany him. Tom feels doubtful, but in the end, he follows what Vic wants. They drive to a location farther from a boathouse, and after parking the car there, they decide to walk into the forest. But before doing that, Tom inserts the battery into Stella's phone, which allows the phone to be tracked from the last place it was used. The two men travel quite far from their car, and after they arrive at their hiding spot behind the trees, Vic gives his partner instructions to retrieve the money. At first, Tom objects and explains that this is not part of the plan, but after he is put in a position where he has no choice, he goes to get the money, only to find that it is not there. He calls Vic to inform him of his discovery, but Vic proudly tells him that he has given a new location to Stella's father. Suspecting that Tom has cooperated with Stella, Vic finally pulls out his gun and points it at Tom and asks him whether Stella knows Vic's name. Tom then admits that Stella only knows him by his first name after she's questioned by Vic, and he begs for mercy, saying that Stella is pregnant with his child. After that, Tom reminds Vic about their time together in prison and how he has protected him. And when Vic seems distracted, Tom takes advantage of the moment by pushing him and running away as fast as he can. But sometime later, Vic quickly ends the chase, and finally, Tom is shot in the back. Even though his wound is quite serious, Tom manages to escape before Vic can reach him. When Vic returns to the car, he finds that Stella's phone battery has been inserted, which makes Vic furious, and finally, he throws it into the river that flows through the forest. Meanwhile, Tom sits behind a tree as he bleeds from his gunshot wound. At the same time, Stella finds herself in a strange environment after she regains consciousness, so she calls for help. But as expected, no one comes to save her. At the same time, Vic goes to the designated location to collect the ransom money. He then returns to the spot where the car was, puts the money into a different bag, and after that, he places the bag inside another car. After returning to the boathouse, Vic starts preparing to kill Stella. But Stella is saved thanks to Tom, who arrives just in time and hits Vic's head with an iron bar. However, Vic is able to knock him down with his gun before Tom can act further. Vic then approaches Tom, intending to fire the final shot at him, but Stella delivers a fatal kick that knocks Vic down, causing his gun to fall near Tom. So Tom instinctively grabs the gun, then shoots Vic in the head, and finally he dies. Tom uses all his remaining strength to take the key from Vic's pocket and hand it to Stella. After she frees herself, she goes to Tom, but because of his critical condition from the gunshot wound, he breathes his last breath, and finally he dies. Kidnapping Stella movie ends with Stella escaping from the boathouse, then getting into Vic's car, and finally driving away from the forest as fast as she can. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps.